Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us again, a collaboration between Danielle and Tom Thibodeau, or as I like to say, between Dad and Danny. This is made possible through the good work of my youngest daughter, who's a professional, and helping us to communicate with each other, how important that is. Today, our topic is all of leadership development is character development. All of leadership development is character development. Character is through which leadership is exercised. Character is which leadership is exercised, not personality, not charism, but character, the very content of who we are. Leadership comes from the Anglo-Saxon Indian word ladeth, which means to step forward. Ladeth is also the root word for the word load. So that when a leader steps forward, very shortly you begin to bear the load, the burden of the pain and possibilities of an organization. You begin to bear the burden of making choices that are going to affect the lives of other people and the people that are entrusted to your care. Therefore, in order to be a leader, one must have developed a sense of character, of internal strength, or as we have known from ancient times, the word virtue, which comes from the Latin word vir, which is a strength, your internal strength in order to lead other people. The strength of the mind is to have an open mind, is to have curiosity, wonder, to be able to ponder. Curiosity is a virtue of the mind, to have an open mind. To have an open heart is to have the virtue of compassion, the ability to understand the burdens that others carry, the ability to understand how other people might suffer and what your response might be. And third, the way in which you have the virtue of an open will is to be able to act with courage, to step out and stand up for what is right and good and just. Well, what's the opposite? Well, if you have a closed mind, a closed mind is dominated by ignorance, refusing to know, refusing to ask questions, to being self-righteous and self-assured. A closed heart is to be filled with anger, to shut down, and all of a sudden to destroy other people in the process. And finally, a closed will is to be dominated by fear. Isn't that what we see in terms of recurring themes throughout our culture today? Ignorance, anger, and hate and fear. So to be a leader is to cultivate virtue, which is to lift other people up, to choose to do what is right and good and just each and every day. Plato called the virtues, the cardinal virtues, comes from the Latin word cardo, which means hinge, and these are the hinges, the way in which character is embedded in our own personality and lives, is wisdom. Wisdom is the virtue of knowing what is good. It is part of having an open mind. Courage is having an open heart, which is part of a cardinal virtue. And temperance. When's the last time you used the word temperance in a sentence? We don't use temperance because we do not practice it. And yet, all of us right now are understanding what it is to have a temperate lifestyle. Moderation, not too much or not too little. And the Greeks understood that if you had mind, body, and spirit, wisdom, courage, and temperance in balance, you have justice, right relationships. This is what it is to be a person of integrity. So wisdom, courage, temperance gives us the possibility of justice. And justice in the Greek philosophy has another virtue who is a twin sister of justice, and her name is reverence. Reverence. You cannot have justice without reverence. You cannot be in right relationship without reverence. These become the building blocks of all leaders, to know what is good, the ability to act for what is right and good and just, but take a middle way in terms of being moderate, look for middle ground, and finally to find right relationships that are anchored in reverence and respect for others, even those that you may dislike or disagree with. Whenever I go and work with leaders, I ask a question: what kind of person are you in the really good days? And then people respond, well, I'm generous, I'm kind, I'm selfless. On my really good days, I'm thinking of the needs of other people. On my really good days, I'm more patient and kind. And I said, you're absolutely correct. On your really good days, you're looking in the mirror and thinking to yourself, this is so good, I should be taking notes on me. The word for that is called magnanimous. Magnanimous means to be great-souled, to have ideals, to be altruistic, to set standards higher for yourself than what you thought previously was possible. How often when we come to meetings do we set low expectations rather than be magnanimous as to what is really possible here? What is it that we might accomplish together that was never possible alone? And then I asked a follow-up question, what kind of person are you on the days where you're not so hot? And then I respond, on the days that I'm not so hot, I whine, I complain, I'm selfish. I only think about my own self-interest. I don't like people. I barricade myself behind my office. I run behind a stack of books or bury myself in my computer screen. I withdraw from other people, and on those days, my life shrinks and I become pusillanimous. Pusillanimous, which means to be puny-souled. Our world kind of collapses on ourselves. Now, the truth is about all of us. All of us have really good days, and all of us have days where we're not so hot. All of us have days in which we are magnanimous, and all of us have days in which we learn very quickly the virtue of humility. In working with all groups that I work with, I always ask people in the room, well, what did you learn by doing this? And it's just rather extraordinary. But here is an example that stands out. A 15-year-old boy on a football team in a rural community. When I asked, what did you learn? He looked around at all of us and said, I'm your teammate. And whether you're having a really good day or you're not so hot, it's my responsibility to love you. Service is love made visible. Service is love made visible. Love, that virtue which is committed to the growth and development of other people. And it only can come from a character that has been woven and built and continues to grow. You cannot lead people past where you are. What are the virtues that you practice on a regular basis? What are the strengths that you need to continue to develop? Gallup organization for decades has been reminding us, build on your strengths, manage your weaknesses. How important this is to live a life of virtue where it has its own rewards. We become our habits. The habitual practice of moral good shapes who we are over a lifetime. And when we are called to step up and to step out to lead and to bear the burdens, the suffering, the frustrations of others, we therefore have the internal courage, the depth of soul, dare I say, to be in that position in which to serve. Peter Drucker writes this, leadership is a lifting of a person's vision, the raising of performance to a higher standard, and the building of a person's strength beyond normal limitations. This is what it is to be called a leader. So today, be magnanimous and humble, and it is a gift to serve and to lead. Thank you so very much for joining us. Look forward to speaking with you again.